Okay, let's talk about the delta drop, the exact opposite, of course, of the delta rise. See, exact same setup, exact same criteria that we just looked at here. So if I bring this up here, the delta rise, the delta drop, well, it would be the exact same thing, right? So it's 4 consecutive bars with decreasing delta, right? Just as rise was increasing. So let's come back and take a look at it. It's very easy to identify. We can just, of course, we're giving you a couple of different ways to identify it. The stripe is the easiest way, but you also have the little letter down here, O for drop. Okay, so much like the other, it's more context and a heads up. It's part of the story than, oh, I see a delta drop, sell it at the market. Now, there are times when that may be the case. Ideally, you'd already be short when a drop is happening, but it's not necessarily an entry signal, but it's it's always about context, right? Of course. So here on our little 1 minute here, we just in rotation, right? The market opens and we're going nowhere. We're just opening range. We're just rotation, and then we get a little break. So the first thing that happens, of course, is we break the low. So we get a little break of structure here. There's the boss, right? So when we break structure, we're anticipating a retrace. So and that's. Just not to digress, but the kind of thing you might look for. So we get a retrace right to a golden zone. That happens when right to the open, where we're a couple of ticks off to the open. So we get the swing. Now note down here, that is the low of the day at that moment in time, and we get delta divergence, which pops it back up. That sets up the retrace after the break of structure. So it's just, I mean, literally right by the FootPrint book. Now we come back to it, exhaustion print, some volume sequencing, and then I've got. I'm closing below the. Let me open that up here so you can see it a little bit better. That we're closing below the POC, so we've got a lot of indication here that okay, perhaps this is the retrace we were looking for, and we're going to head lower. Now, if you were in that short, whether break here or you went at the market or however your entry approach was, to get a drop while you're in it, that's ideal because it's just more continuation here, and this ultimately goes all the way down. But this is a good example. This is 2 use cases here. Would you want to sell at the low of the day after the drop? I mean, that's very aggressive approach to take to the market. Let me get this off here. So as we're heading down, I think this is a really good use case of this, because again, it's not you're at the low of the day, and here I get the sequence. Here are my 4 bars. Right now, remember, we can't identify that it's a delta drop until the close of the bar, right? Because the bar could snap back at the last second. But as we go through this drop and we come down here, I get another drop. Now note, it's at 1028. Right, here's the test of the IB. So we're coming down here, and we get a delta drop. So this little sequence here, we've had 4 consecutive bars of dropping delta. You can see it. They're all positive though, right? So we go. Let's see. Are we positive? Yeah. Here's the only negative. So we go 469, 279, 233, and then we go negative here just before we're tapping the IB, and then what do I get here? Delta divergence. So this is kind of, it suggests, and I know it's always easy in hindsight, but we're kind of suggesting here that the clues are there that when this bar shows up, like, whoa, okay, and plus we're at 1029. A couple of things that you might look to here. Well, number one, we've after this break of structure here, we're still looking for a retrace, something higher, because you might look at a higher time frame. Maybe you're looking at their 5 minute to get a read on this. But again, here's a case where I'm going to pull from this high to this low. All right, same thing, right? We come right back to the golden zone, right, which is an area where we know an algo is going to participate. So are you selling right here? Maybe you're waiting until you get the delta drop. That may be the fuel that you were looking for here, as you see here. So again, you got to go back. You got to go. Oh, geez, I was at 657 minus 77 minus 370. All of a sudden, it looks like, hey, I'm going to go. So maybe a break here would have been attractive to you. Your best case here, either you got fully stopped or you got scratched. Maybe you got a scalp out here, depending on what your target is. Maybe you got a scalp out here, but where's the follow through? Right? There's no follow through, and all I'm getting here is signs of strength. Right? So eventually, all we're doing is just rotation. We go sideways, and then there's the kick. So again, it's a little bit of telling the story of the day. It's not, I see a surge or a drop, I'm gonna sell it. Let me get that off of that. Here, let's see if we've got another one here that helped in that story. Well, here I get 4 of them in a row. Well, now note where this is happening. This is interesting, right? So as we're coming up to test the IB, right? We're coming here. As long as it's green, it's still a virgin. Here's the first break, and there's the algo that fades it. So as we come through this here, now all of a sudden, why do I have all this negative delta? I've been on this big kick all the way up here, pushing up to the IB high. Right, and officially it's not set until 10:30, but here you're at 10. Well, pardon me, we're past 10:30, but we haven't tested it, right? So it gets set early in the day. It's still a virgin as long as it's green. And now there's the squirt, and then it comes down. So here's the pop. But note as we're approaching the initial balance, I've got all this negative delta. Interesting, right? So it's not necessarily that I want to jump into a market order to sell it. Ideally, if we're that close to the initial balance, I want to see if we're going to break it and test it, right? Which, what'd you get there? I mean, you didn't get a lot, but if you took from the POC, there's you got 8 ticks there. Well, you got 2 points out of it. It's not a bad little scalp. But this is kind of the heads up. Like, wait a minute now. Why is all this we've on this big rip here? All of a sudden, all this negative delta is coming in. That would have me paying close attention here to look for additional signs of weakness setting up this move here. At least the scalp, right? And often, here I'm going to get distracted, right? But we're using the delta drop here to kind of identify the potential weakness. Now we do get this little shot up here. Look what we get here. Now that's the high of the day, and again, it's kind of combined concepts here. We get delta divergence. That's the high of the day, down candle, positive delta. Delta's we're neutral on the delta, but we come down here. So I've got delta divergence here. As we come down, we're here's riding the rail of the IB. It's very, very common. The market does this almost every day. And then here I've got another delta drop. Now again, it looks like, I just sell it here. But again, we don't identify the drop until the close of the candle. So if anything, what you're looking for is, okay, well, this is telling me weakness is in the market. Where's the follow through? Why don't I have any follow through? Right now, all of a sudden, we're coming back up to the IB. Again, here we go. This is incredibly common, right? We're just grinding on the IB high, right? A high or low, it's very, very common because this is such a battleground between algos, right? We break up, we bring in the higher time frame traders, we head back down. They're less interested unless we're going to go down and break the IB low. So let's see. We keep going here. I'm just looking for, here's a couple of more delta drops. Well, this is a good example here. So we've got, here's the break of structure. So that was a low that broke. Now we're anticipating the retrace. So if I kind of the same thing, what would bear with me? What would we be looking for? I'd probably use that last high down to our low here. We don't quite get golden zone, but you're right in that pocket where you'd be anticipating weakness here. So I get one delta rise, right? So again, we're 4 in a row where we're dropping in delta. Maybe you take this here, but again, if you took it here on the break, ideally you get another one. Ideally, you'd get another one. I mean, there's a winning trade there. We don't. Well, actually we do. We do get target. No, maybe not. Yeah, we do. We get it right here. So from this, it gets tested multiple times. Then here's the stacked imbalances, and then here again, if you're still in it, right, as we have not gotten target. I don't know that I would be right after that, but then I get it here. Here's the last push down, gets me to target, right? Then I get a little retrace here. We get break of structure. Let me pull that off. I think you get the idea, right? It's not I see it, I sell it. It's what's the context. Now here you get a break of structure, you don't get the retrace. I mean, until much later in the, if at all, right? Here's the break of structure. I'm anticipating the retrace. I think we get much that day. I mean, you could call this your retrace. Yeah, it is, right? We get up here and we go back down. Here's another delta drop closer to the lows of the day. This is not where I'm really looking to sell it. Where I'd be more interested is here's the break of structure. I retrace, and again, this, same stuff every day, right? So we come right back golden zone. Oops, let's get that. Let's not be sloppy on that. There's the low. All right, so from the pivot high here, so swing down, I break structure. I'm anticipating, and here's another change of character. I'm anticipating the retrace. Retrace couldn't be any more technical. I come back down. Now I've got delta drops near the lows. I don't actually, that's a front run on the target. I don't quite get there before screaming back up. Right, so that whole sequence is, that's just kind of how the market moves. Right here, up we go, and I'm to be willing to bet you that's another 50 or a golden zone. Looks like maybe a 50. Right here, we get come right in big order block. We come back down here. Here's the delta drop. Right, we get well. This actually plays pretty well. Here's the drops down here. We don't get any further selling. We get a screaming rip up higher. And then this is now we're into the 4 o'clock close. We come back down, but it's technical. It's technical. And then earnings come out and we go up and get it. Right, delta drop, part of the story. Market talking to you. Okay, hope that's helpful.